Hey Wizards, welcome back. Now, every once in a while when I review a product, there'll be somebody that asks like, well, how does it stand up after a couple years? And usually it's because it's my first time looking at a product. I don't always know the answer to that question. But having ran the TLD channel for like 5 or 6 years now, I've been blown away by some of the super good stuff that really survived the test of time. And I've kind of been disappointed by some products that really fell short and only lasted like maybe a couple months. Like there's certainly some pants that I got bamboozled on in like the $200 to $300 price range. And there's some shoes I also picked up that aren't very good and they're definitely just designed for Instagram photos. So today we'll talk about the gear that didn't survive the test of time and the ones that really shined. From carriers to optics to watches, everything really had this high point and low points and what gear did well and what didn't. But what was the craziest is a lot of the stuff that did really poorly is the stuff that's pushed the hardest from YouTube personalities, and it starts to become pretty obvious that they're paid to say a lot of this stuff. I'll show you what that gear is. I think you're gonna be surprised in the end because a lot of this gear I thought was gonna be good and I will never buy it again. But first, let's do some sponsor love. Today's video is sponsored by Fatboy tripods. When you're out in the world, you can't pick your terrain, and the Elevate head allows you to loosen and lift quickly to get a stable platform, along with the Levitate head to allow you to position and engage with just a flick of a wrist. Fatboy tripods are just mastering accuracy literally anywhere. We're using Fatboy tripods today and pretty much every single day, and I love them because I say this every single time. They pull double duty because they have the Arca and the Picatinny, so I can use them for both my camera and my rifle setups out on the range. I just love them. So if you want to pick up one of your own, make sure to use discount code TLDco to save a ton over on the Fatboy website. Big thanks to all of our sponsors for helping us to make all the ridiculous we do here at TLD happen. Now for this part, I normally do my biases, but for this, I'm gonna show you just a ton of gear from some brands that I really like and some that I really don't. Some brands that I like and their products that I don't. So it's gonna be all over the place. Since it's mostly the old stuff though, I probably bought all this because nobody cared about us when we were small, but I'm sure I can still be biased, so keep that in mind. But it's thanks to our Patreon supporters that we can say and do whatever we want, like without some stupid brand manager or some dumb contracts I keep seeing that say you have to promote and encourage sales. So if you like our more unfiltered style, please consider becoming a Patreon supporter. But there's the other big one. Don't take anything that I say or any other YouTuber says as gospel. We're all biased in some way, and there's probably some contract where they're paid and they're not even allowed to talk about the contract. Do your own research so you can be the most educated consumer possible. All right, though, let's get started, and we're gonna begin where 1911 Syndicate totally screwed me with the UF Pro pants, particularly the Ults or ULTs, whatever they're called. I originally got these because they were highly recommended on YouTube, and these pants got sold as some sort of hot weather solution with these zippers and openings to let air flow and cool you off easily. But the material itself is super heavy. So when you open this up, yeah, you can off some hot gases and stuff from your body, but it's not gonna offset the rest of the heavy material that's on you. And then when you open these up also, everyone can see your SpongeBob underpants underneath. It's a little weird. And it's important to say, do the vents work? No, you get sweaty balls with this every time. The buckle is also liquid brain damage as it's built into the pants, but not totally built in, just like on the front half, sorta. God, I hate this. And using this with any sort of other gear, like if I'm testing other belts or something, completely sucks because you have this like third grade design belt situation going on. Now we're talking about how things didn't survive, and these are all just like functionally bad designs. So how did these pants fail? Well, when you get these super expensive pants and you bother to wash them, just know that they fade and fade and fade. The color on these is now extremely muted, and it's embarrassing for a product that is in the $300 to $400 price category. Ridiculous. I'll never buy a UF Pro product again because it really seems like the materials are subpar with a prestige price. It's just not good. Now, what if you did want to buy pants that survive the test of time? Well, in that case, if I can get these, you get the Beyond A9A pants because these are fantastic. I have used the absolute hell out of these, and if you've seen me in multicam pants, it's probably these. They're a slimmer fit, so they're not all baggy and annoying like standard issued pants, but also breathe, and they're actually a good bit cooler than the ULTs from UF Pro. Plus, these A9As go on sale all the time, so I pretty much just wait until I see one of the bigger sales that they do for the different seasons, and then I just grab an extra pair, because you get a crazy deal when you do that. But just look at the color comparison. They're probably the same age, but the Beyonds have 10 or 20 times more washes and abuse. The Beyonds are full Berry compliant, like USA made and everything. So it's really just a no-brainer, particularly if you're doing any sort of military work. Now though, let's take a look at footwear. And for both of these, it's a little bit interesting because I have one that I love and I have one that I hate. And it's interesting though, because they're both just straight hot garbage at any sort of customer service. So it's kind of funny. The footwear that just killed it are these Lowa Zephyrs. I use these Gen 1s for probably 4 years for training events, to range days, to recording out in the yard. I abuse the absolute hell out of these, and I think they look brand new. I even have a pair of the Gen 2s, and these have seen the same level of abuse, but they also look completely brand new. They don't even look like I've worn them. The Mark II is more comfortable and has some nicer quality of life improvements, so I do recommend these over the Gen 1s. But for a test of time boot, the Zephyrs live up to the hype. So that style of boot is good, but does the Lowa brand itself live up to the same hype? And I have to say, absolutely not. Every time we've gone to see them at like different events, they've always been a bunch of aloof idiots. Like, they never really understood why we were even at the booth at all. And then when we asked about products, nobody really knew anything. It's very confusing. But you know who is actually worse, and it's in the other booth that didn't perform well? Solamon. Every time we would visit their booth, this is like year after year, so we're going on like year 5 of stopping by their booths because it's been like a running joke now. They act like they wish humans didn't exist at all. And it's great because the Speed Cross 6s, those absolutely suck. Maybe these were good back in like the Speed Cross 3 or 4, but the 6s have the most garbage lace system and this vomit green that isn't anywhere close to Ranger green. I mean, somebody needs to get their eyes checked. These shoes wear extremely quickly and the comfort is pretty bad. These are just not a good choice. With the comfort being pretty bad and the laces being hard to really cinch up correctly, I refer to these as like my blister makers because they just tear my feet up completely. And every once in a while, I'll forget how bad they are and I'll wear them for like a short range trip. And every time I come back, I'm like, why didn't I just throw these away? All right, so there's some good picks on footwear and some bad picks. Now let's move into some optics, and this one kind of upset me a little bit because my very favorite optic, my favorite pistol optic of all time, didn't survive the test of time. Like, I went on to go use it and show it off to somebody else the other day, and the optic itself didn't turn on properly anymore. And that optic that I really love is the Holosun 507C with the ACSS reticle, and as you can see, the chevron in the middle has just died. The outer ring works, but not the middle dot. I even tried to fix it and no go. She's dead, and I don't know, maybe somebody out there knows how just the middle of the reticle stops working. I've never seen that before. So that's upsetting. I'm sure if I talked to Holosun, they'd replace it and do some sort of warranty work. Now, what's interesting is probably the oldest optic I've seen on the channel. This is the Holosun 507C X2. I did a video about the warranty process on this, probably when the channel was beginning. Like, that's probably a horrible video. But that's this optic here, and it's still working. It's still being used in reviews. It's a fantastic optic, and yeah, this reticle all works. It's perfectly fine. So that was very interesting to know. The OG survived longer than the new ACSS version. Another set of optics that just refuse to die are my Holosun 503G and the Aimpoint T2. This 503 is much of the same design as the T2, but it's still rocking, and I think this was one of my first reviews I ever did. I know the T2 is a known quantity as just surviving anything, and it probably helps that it's fairly basic in its electronics. But also honorable mention to the EOTechs I own, as they've come a long way in reliability. I have a few different reticles and configurations, and all of these have powered through even without battery drain issues. Back in the day, if you got issued EOTechs, like nowadays they're considered popular and exciting, but back then you'd groan about it because you knew you were probably gonna have issues and the whole thing would just gobble up batteries. But the new ones are fantastic, and I haven't had any of the issues that I had way back in the past. And yes, if you buy a tan one and a black one, you can switch their hoods. I think the black and tan is pretty cool. The tan and black it's not as cool. All right, let me grab one more bit of gear that I'll show you that I feel as though has kind of failed me, and it's not an acceptable place for failure to happen. The first one isn't this chest rig itself, but this Relv Moab pattern. I don't know what happened, but sitting on a shelf, basically in the dark in a closet for a year or two, turned small parts of it purple, and it now looks a little bit, well, it looks horrible. Comparing it to other Relv pattern stuff, you see something's going on, like he's just not using a high enough quality dye or something. Like, I don't get why parts of this are turning pink. Like, both of these used to be the same color, and this hasn't even been sitting out in the sun. And it's really weird because I didn't see any of those issues with like the Relv thermal blankets, so I'm not entirely sure what's going on. I just want you to be aware that color shift may be a thing in some Relv camos, particularly in some of the older patterns. I have noticed that. Honorable mention to everyone else though, I had no color shift on pretty much anything. Hell, this DM carrier has seen the hose, the washing machine, and God knows what else, and it looks brand new. I'm not gonna go grab it because that thing smells, because I've worked out in that thing for like 3 years plus or something like that. I have all the side plates and all the ridiculous so I can weigh it down and work out in it. But if you were to look at it, besides how bad it smells, you would have no idea the hell that thing's been through. Another one on the gear side that is horrible is any of these elastic things, particularly the Ferro ones. These do not last and are total junk. So let me explain something. We do a lot of gear here at TLD, so sometimes I'll buy some of the smaller pieces and I'll put them in a bin so we have some different options to put some different carriers together, make some stuff look cool, or just try out some different setups that maybe somebody mentions in the comments. But these Ferro elastic, I had them in a bin, I go to pull them out. They have completely failed just from sitting in a bin. Like, all the elastic had snapped and there's like spaghetti everywhere. I was like, oh, great. This is a great company. So I'd avoid pouches that are just elastic, as I think probably 15 out of 16 of them that I've owned are now all in the garbage. Test of time pouches though, the ones that do well, are anything S-Tac or the HRT ones. I've loved both of these and I've never seen them wear out. Okay, well the S-Tac ones you do kind of have to hit with a hairdryer every once in a while because they lose some of that retention. The HRT ones don't do that, so I do give them some extra points for that, and I do kind of lean into the HRT because they have a little bit less maintenance. But the S-Tacs are the OGs, so you really can't go wrong with either one. Now, the Dynamic Principles pouches, I also think they're gonna do really, really well because they just use the same S-Tac inserts. I just haven't had them for a super long amount of time for me to be able to answer that question, so maybe we'll come back to this in a couple years. Now, for the next one that really failed the test of time, and this one really kind of pisses me off, these Garmin watches, they're not good. Here's my Tactics Delta, and I couldn't possibly be more upset at this. This is probably my 5th band because they get absolutely disgusting and fall apart. The glass also has some sort of imperfection in the center that has slowly gotten worse over time. I really love that. I really thought that one of these Garmins would just be absolutely perfect for like running and tracking all my fitness and everything and all these cool guy stuff. But in reality, This thing gets absolutely gross, and you have to wash it and clean it with soap every time you work out in it, or your wrist just starts to smell like a trash can. It's so expensive, and the warranty was only for like a year, so they won't even bother talking to me. I will never buy one of these again. And it's funny because even the new ones I see just seem to add $200 onto the price of the old one each year, but all I see are the exact same problems for more money. But you want to know a good watch that did last forever? Whatever the hell this is, Casio Pathfinder or something. This has to be 15 or more years old. No batteries ever been changed. It has solar, a compass, stopwatch, all the things. I just don't understand how this watch still works. Like the Garmin battery could last like 2 or 3 weeks, like depending on how much stuff you're doing on it. And this one lasted like 2 decades. We'll go ahead and switch these out. So if we're going into the zombie apocalypse, Casio Pathfinder for sure. Okay, let's talk rifles. With all the ones that I have and all the things that I tested, I think it's interesting to say this. I've never had one that hasn't survived. I will say not to buy anything left-handed, as these are a complete joke, and getting them to work is some sort of random mishmash of parts that actually work with each other. But I will give honorable mention to Nevada Cerakote, who did these aero builds. Most of these look brand new when I've used them for so long, and it's impressive when compared against the Radian we reviewed that was pretty bad in terms of Cerakote work after like 8 rounds. What else did I have that didn't survive? Oh, you can't see them up here. My original Sordins did die. So I wore those and used them for like 3 years straight. And eventually the left ear just totally crapped out when I was out at a training session. And then eventually over time, I was just using them with one ear. And then it would start to squeal and squelch at you. And I knew at that time they had died. And so they only survived 3 or 4 years, which may not be a lot for some people with the price tag of that headset. Now, like I said, I'm looking at them and you can't see them up here. And that's because I have another set. I mentioned my issue to Sordin and they warranted them and got me a whole nother set. So I have the new ones with all the new features. So I don't really think it's that much of a negative if they're just gonna fix it if something goes wrong. I also rave about my OpsCore amps, but honestly, they've been almost completely rebuilt with hardware instead of plastic pins and replacement mounts. So do be aware that even at this tier, it's not completely perfect. It should be noted too that when my amps had issues, OpsCore was going to just replace those for me under warranty also. I just think the way I have them built is kind of an improvement on the design using actual metal hardware. So I didn't want to switch them out because I think my design's better, but it does say something that they were willing to fix it and just warranty those headsets too. Mostly though, just avoid rebranded trash like the Axles in terms of headsets. When we did that headset review, I still haven't gotten a set of them, but those Savior headsets, people have raved about those. I need to get some and see what a long-term review looks like. Now though, let's do one last category, and this one's gonna be really exciting with flashlights, and we're gonna make everybody mad. I say that because you guys wanna know what stupid flashlights just won't die? These damn Olights. We reviewed a bunch of these at the start of the channel, and Joe even shot this one with birdshot, and then JB welded the mount back on. The stupid things still work. I mean, I want to make fun of Olight as much as the next guy. I mean, that was the cool thing to do back in like 2020, but they all still work and they all still function. So I can't even do that. I don't even think this one even came out and it's still just functional. I don't know what to do. Now, some of the lights that haven't made me happier as the days go on are these rain lights. I mean, most of the time they work, but they're getting finicky with age, and not being any of the newer switches really sucks. Using their switch, it didn't really bother me, but as I go on to more training and stuff, I've come to realize that I don't always want to use their switch or like wait for something to be, back order to get a certain kind of switch. It's just become a pain. So I've kind of leaned more into saying like, okay, I want a different style of switch, which means I want to get some different styles of lights as I move forward. So maybe you've experienced that with rain, maybe not, maybe you love the switches. All right, though, let's do one last one, and let's talk about bags. I think these are all good. I don't really think I have a bad one. Starting first, I'll say this Mysteryranch Rats bag has acted as my range bag forever and is just ridiculous. It has all these individual compartments for tools, cleaning batteries. It's just perfect for a quick repair and maintenance station when I'm out doing reviews. That singular bag, with kind of the way I have it set up, has saved me a crap ton of times. And I'll say to you this, if you're ever thinking about being a YouTuber and reviewing scopes, please, you'll love me forever. Make sure to bring a fat wrench with you, or any sort of torque wrench. It will save your life. Now that Rats bag does cost like $1 billion, so I don't really know if that is the perfect solution for everybody. And there are some other options that I think you can get for a good bit less money that are also very, very good. Like this Eberlestock bang bag, range bag, whatever. It's killed it for the last 2 years, so if you're looking for a better priced option that you can reconfigure for different trips, this thing nails it. I think that's a good start though, kind of letting you know what I've used and what I haven't. If you want to know more, just ask me. I'm sure I have other options like I replaced all of my hog saddle tripods with Fatboy tripods, but not because hog saddle is an issue, but because the slick tripods they're mostly doo-doo water. Griffin Armament makes absolutely fantastic cans. If you can get one, get the PS5 or the PSR7, those are fantastic. And here's an interesting one. If you're buying t-shirts, only buy Next Level brand. Otherwise, you're gonna get some complete crap that'll fit you like a potato sack, and it'll probably just shrink in the wash. I know it's a weird one, but in the tactical gear world, they sell garbage t-shirts, so you can look at them and say, oh, you guys got the $8 Gildan brand. These are gonna be great. No, they're not. They're gonna be horrible. Don't buy those. All right, but that was about 20 minutes of me yelling at clouds, but I hope this helped you guys in your purchasing decision to see some of the gear that survived and some of the gear that didn't, and some of the remorseful purchases that I have. But I want to say thanks to all of our Patreon supporters and our YouTube members. You make it possible we can get all this gear, test it out, and see what happens over the years, and come back and tell you, hey, these Garmin watches, they kind of suck. So maybe that's useful information for you guys. And I want to say thanks to everyone that likes, comments, and subscribes. Comment down below. If you're going to comment, leave 2 things. One thing that didn't survive and one thing that did. I want to hear about it. So we can get more stuff. We can test it out. All right, everyone. Walsh out. I'm legitimately sad that this thing, I don't know if you guys can see it, this thing only, I'm trying not to point at myself, this thing only has the ring. If any of you have some sort of idea as to how I can fix this, yeah, I can send it back in to Primary Arms or Holosun or whoever, I'm sure they'll give me a different one. But if I can just fix it, I don't know, maybe I'll hit it with a Q-tip or something. But yeah, I hope this was useful for you guys. I was really annoyed about those UF Pro pants. The Beyonds are awesome. The Solomons, I love the fact that their shoes, the suck because they're just horrible people. I've never dealt with worse people at a booth than those people. I don't understand it. The only people that are more annoyed that you exist is 3M, which I don't know, maybe that fits. All right, I'm just rambling here. I stayed inside because it's another god-awful hot day today, and I'm not dealing with that garbage again. Okay, got more cool stuff for you guys coming. Night vision, gear. It's gonna be a cool year. All right, everybody, I'm gonna go. Bye.